You know how you're like 20 years old and you got that brand new car, you traded in your old crappy first car and you're super pumped about it because your new car, it's sleek, it's shiny. Every time there's a speck of dust that gets on it, you wash it off real quick. The doors actually stay closed. The reason I said it is because my first car was an 89 Wrangler, and the passenger door would swing wide open anytime I'd take a sharp left turn. My passengers loved it. They all had a near-death experience every time they rode in my car. But that's how I kind of feel about the Blackout Defense Quantum Mark II, which was just sent out to me by Tom from Blackout Defense. I actually know him. He sent this out a couple months ago, and then I ended up meeting him at SHOT Show. This is going to be the focus of today's video. Most of you who have been watching my channel for quite some time know I basically only run this BCM. I stick to the BCM because I love BCM. It's never failed me. This is a 12.5, and a lot of people ask what optic mount I use and why it's so tall. This is a Unity fast mount 2.26 inch, and the reason I went with this one was for a couple reasons. I'm just throwing this out there because I know I'm answering some people's questions because I get hit with the comments every single time. The reason I got it is because when you have a tall optic mount like this, it allows me to more easily pick up the red dot when I'm using gas mask or nods, which is what I used to have to do all the time, and I had to do it for quals. So that's what it's good for. And then in addition to that, most of your 193s, like your Scalar Works or whatever, they block your front sight, your actual iron sights, and I needed iron sights because in the qual you'd have to turn off your red dot and qual with iron, so I couldn't have those blocked. So this was a good option for me because it has built-in backup iron sights. This is what I've been using. But now the Quantum Mark II is kind of a different caliber of rifle. It's in that 2,000 plus range, which is something that I kind of just shied away from because I didn't want to spend the money for it. But before we get into it, guys, I got to give a quick plug. We just recently released the Battle Bottle 2.0. This is 2-liter stainless steel bottle, and it has a nylon sleeve with pouches for your phone, your keys, your wallet, and it's great for when you're going to the gym. You don't have things rattling around in your pockets. You can just throw them in your bottle. They're all there in one spot. Comes in 2 camo patterns, as you can see right here. These things are flying off the shelves. They really are. So they're probably going to be out of stock soon, at least these 2 variants. So I would recommend, if you do want to support us, you do need to get a water bottle, pick these up because it is easy to track your water intake and your hydration when you actually have something like this holding you accountable compared to like 10, single plastic bottles. You'd end up just not drinking them. And the benefits of hydration just can't be overstated. They help lubricate your joints, muscle recovery, weight loss, help fight fatigue. So I could just go on and on about that. Plug over. Now we're talking about the Quantum Mark II. First, you need to understand a little bit about the maker, Tom. He is an aerospace engineer. He sent me this out a few months back, and he decided he was going to kind of jump into the firearms market and give his little spin on what he thinks is the perfect AR15 platform. And the Quantum Mark II was his vision of that kind of put into practice. Guys, I met Tom out at SHOT Show, and he was covering all of the special things about this rifle. Everything just went way over my head. I mean, he's talking aerospace engineering stuff, and I was kind of giving the oohs and ahs and yeah, and pretending like I knew what he was talking about. No clue what he was talking about, but he seemed to actually know what he was talking about, and I was believing him. Convincing. So let's just talk about the rifle itself. Oh, also, he did give me a discount code. I almost forgot to mention that. If you are in the market for something like this, $100 off this rifle if you use the discount code that I link down in the description below. I do make a little bit of cash off that. Does that mean it'll change my opinion of the rifle? No, I would never push something on you that I don't actually believe in. But if I don't have a trustworthy face, then don't believe me and don't use it. I just want you to know, full disclosure. It's chambered in 223 Wild, so you can throw in 5.56 or 223 in this. Weighs in at about 6.62 pounds, and the MSRP is somewhere around $2,000 to $2,200, depending on kind of the accessories and what figuration you get it in. We're just going to start from the back to the front, burn through it to the best that I can, to my memory of everything. Most of the major components are sourced in-house by Tom at Blackout Defense. But some of the smaller stuff he actually sources out elsewhere. For example, the butt stock. This is an adjustable stock made by Magwell, and then you have a QD mount also made by Magwell right here. The safety selector. This is the one complaint I have with this entire rifle. I'm just not a huge fan of the safety selector for whatever reason. I think it's just a little bit shorter than I would actually like. I actually think that I can run just a standard safety selector that you would get on something like this significantly faster. I actually like this one a lot more. And that's just your standard safety you would get on any AR. So my one complaint of this whole rifle is going to be that safety selector lever. Sorry, Tom, but that's just my personal opinion of it. Aesthetically, this thing is absolutely incredible. The machine work is fantastic. You would expect nothing less from an aerospace engineer. So space tactician Tom, you did an incredible job with the actual machine work itself. On the inside, you have a subdued version of their logo, which you can see right there. Blackout Defense actually has like this modern 80s vibe on their website that I really, really like, and the machine work is just absolutely incredible with the rifle itself. Subdued USA stamped right there on the side. Now let's talk about the trigger. This is the Zero trigger, again, made by Tom in-house, and the reason they call it the Zero trigger is because there is absolutely no take up before it breaks. You can see there's nothing. The camera's not going to do it justice, but it just breaks. And then just a slight reset a little bit, we're back on the wall, and then it breaks again. I don't know if the camera did it justice. I'll probably throw in some B-roll of it actually shooting in the video if it didn't pick it up quite right on the camera right there. Do you need a trigger like this? No, not really, guys. You don't need a trigger like that, but do you want it? That's the question, and I think a lot of you probably out there do want it. And if you are in the market for a trigger, the Zero trigger is about 200 to 250 bucks. So I liken it to, like, let's say you have a Honda Civic style rifle and you throw a Zero trigger in there. It's kind of like throwing a turbo on a Honda Civic. So if you're in the market for that, I would definitely give the Zero trigger a look. I actually have a 10% discount code for that as well, which I'll link in the description. Also, but is a trigger like this going to make you a significantly better shooter right out of the gate? Absolutely not. It's not going to make you a significantly better shooter, but it can help in some regard. Mainly, if you're trying to put rapid shots up on target, then a trigger like this can definitely help in that regard, but it doesn't change the fundamentals of shooting. So if you're a bad shot, you're just going to be a bad shot. The trigger's not going to do all that much difference for you, but it can help. Moving on, we have a flared or a beveled magwell on this. I've actually never had a flared magwell on any of my rifles or my handguns for that matter. Like I said, police rifles. But if you're in that type of thing and you want those lightning fast reloads that make everybody famous on Instagram, this magwell is actually great for that. And talking about the upper itself, there is absolutely no give and no rattle whatsoever between the upper and the lower receiver. And that can be attributed to two things. Number one, space tactician Tom's precision work, but then also he has a patented technology. It's press lock technology is what it's called. And in its simplest form for guys like us to understand, it's a compression pad that goes between the upper and the lower. I'll roll some B-roll so you can actually see it, but it basically just cinches it down and makes it where there's absolutely no give whatsoever. And that also means that you could take this lower and throw any other upper on it, and for the most part get that same fitment. Charging handle. This is the Blackout Defense's charging handle. I forget what the name of it is, but if you're familiar with the Radian charging handle, then you'll be right at home with this thing. It's basically the exact same, ambidextrous, no issues whatsoever with that charging handle. And then up top on the Picatinny rail, I threw a AccuFire 1:6 LPVO on a ScalarWorks 193 mount, and then offset to that is going to be a Valhalla Tactical offset mount with a Hollow Sun red dot. And I'll kind of go through the thought process behind it. Basically, most of you probably already know this, but the thought process is if I have the LPVO on 6 power when I'm reaching out to targets at a distance, that if something popped up right in front of me, I could just cant this in and utilize this red dot with it. It's a concept that's been around forever, except it's new to me and I'm still kind of testing out, so I don't really know how I feel about it when you compare it to just a regular red dot with a magnifier on it. I guess time will tell with the more experience I have with it, but that's what I'm testing on the rifle itself. So the barrel, it's going to be 13.9 inches with a dead air muzzle brake on it. And it's pin and welded. Why would you want pin and welded in a 13.9? Well, if you have a 13.9 with a pin and welded muzzle device, it is not considered an SBR. If it was not pin and welded, it would be considered an SBR. So none of us really want to deal with that, which is why Blackout Defense decided to pin weld the dead air muzzle brake on it, and it's ready to accept a Sandman on it. I actually have a Sandman S on order, but I'm sitting around waiting for the tax stamp to come in. I'm probably like 10 months away or more. I don't know. I think there's a new way to do it, but they didn't process it the right way. So it's taking me forever. As soon as that suppressor comes in, it's going to be going right here up front. The barrel itself is going to be made of 416R steel, and it is 1 in 8 twist, and it has what's called linear expansion rings on it. What linear expansion rings are, basically, in its simplest form, it just helps with the consistency and accuracy of fire with the rifle. I don't know if it does, but Tactical Considerations made a video on it, and he talked about that specifically, and he does a way better job of actually diving into it. So if you want more on the linear expansion rings, head over to Tactical Considerations channel and check that out. He knows more about those intricate details than I do. It is a mid-length gas system, and aesthetically, this is just amazing. I mean, that's personal preference, but aesthetically, I think it's probably the best looking rifle that I own. Again, maybe you don't like the way it looks. I happen to think it looks fantastic. Now let's talk performance of this. When I am getting a new rifle, there's basically three things I'm looking for in performance. The first one is going to be the trigger. Does it have a decent trigger? Yes, of course. This zero trigger, it does it in spades. This thing's fantastic. Best trigger I've ever used. So trigger, check that box. The next is going to be accuracy, and I can't really speak much on that because I've only used this from 50 to 100 yards, and pretty much any rifle should be somewhat accurate at 50 to 100 yards. So there's not really much I can say with regards to that. I expect it to be fully accurate. And the last is going to be recoil impulse. Now, with a $2,000 price tag, is the difference between this rifle and something like a BCM or a lower end rifle? Not that a BCM's lower end, BCMs are great, but is that extra few $100 or $1,000 worth it for a rifle? That really depends. This isn't targeting the budget market. It's targeting a whole different market for this type of rifle, and there are a lot of guys who are actually looking for rifles like these, and with that price tag, you expect there to be an increased performance. And for that extra $1,000, yeah, I do think this thing matches that price tag with its performance. When you combine the weight, the muzzle device, the trigger, this thing has a very low recoil impulse. I have had really no issues with it whatsoever. It runs completely flawlessly. I think Tom takes a lot of pride in his work, and I'm very happy with the rifle itself. I'll be using this for quite some time. Of course, I'll be using other rifles for other videos just because, I want to showcase other things to you guys. But this is going to be a staple of my content and just shooting in general. I don't know how long I'm going to stick with the AccuFire and the offset. I may keep it. I may love it. Maybe I'll just switch it out here soon. I'm not really sure. Kind of want to give it a good shot before I decide to go one way or the other. Guys, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully I brought you some value with this video. If you are looking for this type of rifle, I have a link down below. Use it, don't use it. That's your call. I don't really care either way. I think it's a great rifle. I appreciate you tuning in to this video as always. And guys, we have an ambassador program. If you're looking to join the team and, feel that team environment and be a part of the brand and be a part of the channel, head over to our Instagram or our website. We have a sign up form so you can sign up and become an ambassador, and you can earn things like store credit, cash, actual cash incentives for doing things. And it's just kind of a cool environment to be a part of. So if you're interested in that, maybe I'll link that down below. If not, head over to our Instagram or our website. Thank you for tuning in. I really do appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one.